Hello and welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go. And I don't know, I know that a lot of people have been complaining. I think this last stunt with Obama, the monkey thing, and his passing the buck off to one of the underlings or something, I just consider that was done on whether that's true or not, which I don't know if I can believe a thing that comes out of his mouth. It happened on his watch and on his social media platform. So as these things, disgusting things pile on, I've heard so many people say, and I feel the same way, it's like, how has he gotten away with all of this? Half of one thing that he does has been enough for people to drop out of races and lose elections. And you just keep wondering, is this, is there ever going to be any justice? And I'm afraid that sometimes it comes, maybe not in this lifetime, but it comes on the other side. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm going to get into this heaven, hell, fire, brimstone thing, because it's not as simple as that, and I don't believe in that stuff anyway. It's more about kind of what happens on the other side in the afterlife. And as you know, this whole thing has been going towards movies, and most of them are old movies. And the one I think of, which is was made in 1944, called Between Two Worlds. Now, this was an era where a lot of movies like this were made that dealing with the afterlife, and I can think of a number of them, and there's that one with David Niven as the pilot who's supposed to cross over, but things happen and he doesn't. I can't remember the name of that now. That was made right after the war. And so there were a whole bunch of movies like this. And the thing is that during World War II, spiritualism had a big resurgence. And this is what happens during wars. It kind of got, the modern spiritualism kind of got off the ground with the Fox sisters in 1848, and I did I believe around the 31st of March last year, I did a video about them. And it kind of coasted along, but then when the Civil War broke out, it got really, really big, with Mary Todd Lincoln having seances in the White House after the loss of her son. And this was quite common. So we're coming up to World War II. I think that the 1944 Between Two Worlds was probably one of the best ones in that era. I would say that for those of you out there who belong to spiritualist churches and organizations, and would really like to have, like to have a movie night, I would highly recommend this movie. And I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown. It's a remake of an earlier one called Outward Bound with Leslie Howard. But this is set in the World War II era, and it has two different stories. There's the Paul Henreid and his wife, played by Eleanor Parker, who he's despondent and wants to kill himself, and he is killing himself because I think the Nazis he was a pianist, and the Nazis broke his hands, and he couldn't get an exit visa out of London to come to all this sort of thing. And you see him at the boat office with all the other cast characters, and he doesn't have the papers to get out, so he decides to do himself in. And his wife doesn't really want to end her life, but she can't live without him. So she gets caught up with this. So meanwhile, you have these really I mean, these people have some serious issues. Some of them are British and some of them are American. And they're at the steamboat, or the steamship office, getting their tickets, and they all have their reasons for going back to the ship is supposed to be sailing for the States. So as you know, during that time, the Germans were bombing the hell out of the UK and London in particular. So these people they all decided to go and cram into this cab to get to the dock. And there's a bomb, and the bomb hits the cab. Now, this interesting thing is, I think when the movie came out, they said, oh, don't give away what's going on. Well, to me, that it's quite obvious. So maybe there's a difference between audiences that first saw it. Okay, so they get on this boat, and then there's the couple, Paul Henreid and the Eleanor Parker couple, who end up on the same boat with them. So it's pretty obvious. Well, the thing is that all these people are dead, and they're on this ship that's going to be sailing to the other side. So they're kind of like in that holding pattern before they're totally crossed over. And you have John Garfield, who's playing this very cynical, drinks too much newspaper person, and he's locked horns with this, and I think written stories about this industrialist played by George Coulouris, and who thinks money will buy anything. There's the actress, who's another total cynic, the snobbish English lady, and then you've got the steward, and played by a great character actor by the name of Edmund Gwen. And I think things are kind of obvious when you notice he's the only crew member. He's the only crew member on the ship, and he's getting them drinks, and he's this and that. And the two suicide people, they know they're dead, and that they get it right away. Nobody else does quite yet. And that's the really the big story, except the cynical John Garfield character. He gets it, and it's a great scene. I think that might be the one that I'm going to post in the comments. And they say you can't tell them yet and all this sort of thing. Well, at any rate, everybody does find out. So the deal is, and this is like the cream of the crop of Warner Brothers contract players, really, really, really good ones. And so you have Sidney Greenstreet, who steps out of his obnoxious tough guy part, and he plays the vicar, who is going to the vicar from the spirit world, who's going to decide people's fate. And they all leave on the rowboat, this sort of thing. And the thing is that one of the nicer characters is the one that's played by George Tobias. As you can remember, he was the neighbor across the street on Bewitched. But he's a young married guy that has a new child, and he's not accepting the fact that he never even got to see his baby, and the unfairness of it all. So everybody, as Sidney Greenstreet interviews everybody, and they all take off on their little boat, everybody kind of gets their just desserts. And the thing is that interesting thing that the John Garfield character, he wants to do, he has this whole routine to pick a card, any card, and because he does card tricks. And so he tells the vicar, let's play high-low. We'll draw cards for high-low. And so the whole thing is that so Greenstreet says, well, what happens if you draw the high one? He said, then none of this afterlife stuff. I just want I just want to be dead. I just don't want to feel anything. Well, because of the magic of they're not alive anymore, that of course he doesn't win that, and has a very interesting, kind of a lovely little fate with this English lady played by wonderful character actress Sarah Allgood. And it's kind of touching. So, and some of these people do transform, but there are a couple of fates, and it's not devils with pitchforks or anything. It's one woman is going to end up with everything she wants, but a loneliness for eternity. The snobby English woman. So I don't want to tell too much about this, but everybody kind of pretty much gets what they gave in life. And so I think the big message of this movie is that there's always room for redemption. We see that in the actress. But the thing is that there are some people in that motley crew that doesn't get it. They don't see it that way. And it's about, I would say, it is about karma. Probably one of the best movies ever made about karma. And that word is never mentioned because it's not New Age. This is the 1940s, which probably makes the message even more powerful. So what I'm trying to get at with all of this is that if, because, well, like take the industrialist, really obnoxious. Nobody plays obnoxious better than George Coulouris. And the thing is that in life, he just gets away with everything. He buys everybody. He blackmails. I mean, who does that remind? He's kind of the Trumpy character in this movie. And even though his money means nothing now that he's dead, he still tries to use that as leverage. So some people get redemption and some don't. But they all get pretty much what they have coming. And I'm beginning to think that perhaps, I'd love to be wrong about this, is that we're probably never going to see, maybe in this lifetime, the punishment that Kanks and Stephen Miller and some of these other dickheads really deserve. And maybe that part of the awakening sort of thing is that maybe we have just got to accept that, because it is out of our control. It's definitely out of our control. So we have, I would say, if there were a tarot card that would represent between two worlds, of course, it's the Death card. And when these people do go through their journey of, while they await their fate after they learn they're dead, that there's a lot of the old stuff they have to let go of. And I feel as though that the actress played by Faye Emerson is probably the best example. Like, I don't need the clothes, the furs, that I thought an hour ago were incredibly important, really aren't, or the makeup or the glamour. So that there are people letting go of all those things. So I want to pick out the secondary card, because I feel I actually see for some of these people that they may end up on a ship like that, and it's very interesting that ends up with the suicides. That they see all of this going on, and they really don't know their fate since they're suicides, but they have a big redemption in the end of the movie too. So, which I'm not going to give away, although probably most of everybody's seen that. Well, maybe not. Okay, so the secondary card that I pick about all of this is Eight of Wands in reverse, which is about not much happening. There's the potential for things to happen, but things are kind of suspended, and that's that's pretty much what I see with these people on the boat before they have their reckoning with this enormous vicar. That gives them a little bit of time, that they kind of stop, and it gives them time to do some thinking before they move on. So I'm pretty much believing, maybe I have to believe, that this may be the kind of fate that some of these people will meet. I mean, I think of Mangala, who just hopped and skipped and jumped all over South America, and everybody wanted him brought to a trial and this and that. So he was found, I guess he had drowned in the ocean as an old man. And I guess a lot of people feel as though he never really paid for the hideous war crimes that he did. But I think having to run and get up in the middle of the night and look over your shoulder is a lot of punishment. But I suspect he had his own Sydney Greenstreet. So I want to say, and I think the thing is that may be something we're just going to have to accept, and maybe telling us that maybe we need to put our own house in order. So I'm going to read on, because I thought I needed to talk about this to see what am I going to about I guess about what we can control and what we can't control, because I think that movie, there was a lot about that. And as far as the evildoers know, that they will get theirs in the end, but we have to accept the fact that we just may not see it. So, and I do feel as though maybe this is the part of moving up on the enlightenment food chain a little bit. But I'm going to do some reading about how this is an impact on us, what we can do. I'm just going to see where are the cards going to take us. So where we're at now is Ten of Wands in reverse. I think what this tells me that if we don't obsess about, and maybe this whole thing with Kanks is the big reminder that he's going to get his in the end. We may not see it. We may not. I think the thing is, if we accept the fact, let it go, and know that he's probably going to do himself in, I'm not saying in a suicide way necessarily, but he is his own worst enemy, and maybe that's so. I think it's time for us to unburden ourselves with that, and not to feel, well, we will feel frustrated. You can't stop at that, but to know that we have no control over what his fate is going to be. So I want to see on what could be leading up to that. The Queen of Cups in reverse. And she's just reaching for her cup. And this is kind of like the needy. This is the needy, manipulative queen who kind of wants to control everything. So she's going to reach for that cup for the day to see whose feelings she can control and manipulate. And she doesn't have quite of a grasp on it yet. So I would say this is maybe how we've been, I would say maybe how we've been manipulated in our feelings by given some false hope with the media or some people on YouTube. Let's see what, and the after thing, I did shuffle these up to begin with. Okay. Strength in reverse. And the thing is that, she's that kitty cat is purring. I mean, in the regular tarot, she's in the process of taming the cat, but that cat is tamed in strength, which is the real strength. So I would say that with strength in reverse, this coming about this is maybe knowing that they have not tamed their own beasts, and that we're looking at some very weak people that with, I would say, with this. So the energy crossing, this is justice. Oh, this is perfect. Justice in reverse, which is a big theme of this reading. And justice in reverse is talking about justice that's delayed, and it is a karma card too. And when it's in reverse, it tells us justice eventually is going to come, but on the universe's times and not ours. And it also says we may or we may not know about it. It may come at a time, the reckoning may come at a time when some of us will be alive and others will not be alive. But it's saying justice will come, and it may not be what you expect. Because my colleagues and I, we don't see him in prison. But we see all these scenarios. Could be dead. He could be in exile. He could be. The closest I've seen is a possible institutionalization in a mental facility or something like that. So let's see what all has been the underlying stuff beneath this. Okay. So we have the Hierophant, the institution, and in the past. I would say in the past with this, which is part of the burden that we've got to unload, is that we have been relying too much on the system and the institutions to do this. And perhaps it's going to come in another way. It could be that I still haven't gotten the exile. That's a biggie, that he could go into exile possibility. That he's talking to his dictator buds overseas. So, but that we feel as though institutions are strong, but he's been able to beat them so far. So then we have there has been a failure to see the obvious. I think that again, what I feel is though that's changing, because with the Epstein files and all the ugliness that's coming out around that is I believe that is the engine for the downfall. But that car may be losing. So, and the interesting thing is that in the death card, they are on a journey. He's on a journey with a horse. And in the movie, they're on the journey of the boat. So that the boat is kind of what the horse is in the card. And boats don't move. They don't move as fast as airplanes. Okay, that's why. I haven't seen it in a while, but it just resonated with me. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And seeing in this is a little bit in the future, and seeing that with our downgrade in prosperity, they don't see that can be their downgrade in prosperity too. It's as much of a dickhead that Henry Ford was. The one thing he with his anti-Semitism and everything, the one thing that he was right about is that if the people in my automobile factory cannot afford to buy a car, and we can only sell them to a few rich people, what's the point of being in business? So he brought he brought the wages up and did the manufacturing of the cars in such a way, in a mass-produced way, to make it cheaper, so he could sell them for cheaper so that people could buy a car. But the dipshits today, they're going to have to learn that the hard way. So that could be part of the comeuppance that happens in this side of life. I believe it's going to be a combination of the two. So the opposing card we have here, the challenging card we have here. Oh, decisions to be made. And I think the thing is that in dealing with all this stuff that we cannot control, decisions have been made. And the decision is that is a dilemma is what can we control and what we can't. So part of the awakening will be take off the damn blindfold, start to feel it more with your heart a little bit instead of thinking things to death. And the answer could come, but we're still at a place where it's just like we don't know which way it is going. So we got that going on here. So on the conscious level with all of this is this keeps coming up, the Tower in reverse. So it's like it's one thing after another, and on the conscious level, when the administration and Trump and all this stuff, and they do these catastrophic things, and I would say this is really interesting. I'm going to say that this is the taco card, because he does these things, but that are pretty bad. They're very awful, but they could be a lot worse. So he kind of chickens out and pulls back. So we don't have a full-scale tower. I mean, one week it's Iran. Maybe he's going to go into Iran, or it's Venezuela, and he talks this and that, and then he backs off. But, you pile all of this stuff together, and it's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And then our lives turn out to be like that, like putting one bill at a time, one fire out at a time, and all this sort of thing. On the subconscious level is we want this to be over, and we want to celebrate. I think whatever happens with him, whether he leaves one way or another, or this whole regime topples, I think people they want to get out and celebrate. They want this to be over to celebrate, but it's very difficult. I think people are waiting, like this can't last forever, and that may not be a bad thing. So we got that going. Okay, so let's see. In the past, we have, oh, come on. Maybe I need to shuffle you up a little bit more. These cards are, these long ones they're really hard to handle. Okay. So in the past, we have, the Three of Hearts. Oh. This is the dread of the betrayal coming. This is like, in the past, it's kind of like, what the hell is he going to do next? Oh, and then we have this crow flying in, I guess, as an ominous thing. So there's the dread, kind of going back to this, like, what is going to be next? Those things will go in, but sometimes it's worse before they do, because you wonder, what is it going to be? So that is in the past. So in the present, we have the Queen of Swords. Boy, she keeps coming up. She does keep coming up in these readings. We have the Queen of Swords, which is a female energy of truth that is about to, that we're starting to get to the truth of things. And it goes back to a meme I saw today where Hillary, Kamala, Anita Hill, a blast from the past with Thomas, and you could name like AOC, Jasmine Crockett. They're saying, we have the truth, and we told you this was going to happen. We told you that this was going to happen. So the truth is coming out, and the swords are coming out. She's just about ready to swing that sucker. So I'm going to say that the truth has been coming out mostly by the women. That's the truth, and it is telling us we need to look to the smart women, because as you see these little white birds here, that they'll be strong, but they'll be the peacemakers and the diplomats. So this female energy, as much as they're trying to stifle it, it is coming out. So the future, I'll just give these another little shuffle. No, the future is, this is so weird because this came up the last time too, is that it's interesting because she's setting the trap. She's setting the trap. They think they're getting away with stuff, but the trap has been set. But look, he hasn't quite stepped into it yet. He hasn't quite stepped in, but he's not looking where he's going. So as the queen of, as she pauses before she wields the sword, she's saying, wait, the trap has been set. So there could be some reckoning on this side of life. And we will see what this is saying. We will see some of it. We can't be totally discouraged. I think on the very top level, who knows? Who knows? I think one more follow-up here will be, interesting. There's not much of a difference in this after. Death is in reverse. So hasn't quite made it yet, and he's not that different from the after. He's not that different from the regular thing, but I think there's more dead people lying in his wake. So I would say he's still going, but the journey is slow. So the karma thing is going to be slow. I also feel as though death in reverse is always about an illness. It's not, at that time, may not be fatal. So what that is saying is that there will be a turn for the worse in Trump's health for entertainment purposes only. That could be bringing him a little bit closer, but maybe not quite yet. But what I'm seeing is it goes back to the strength card in reverse. Further weakening, so it's moving slower. And had he not been elected, he probably would be sitting in prison now. So, but which I think a lot of people would like. So let's see. In the hopes and fears, we have Judgment in reverse. So the hope is that with him being so badly judged throughout the world now, his Elon Musk at the Olympics is the, not Elon Musk, J.D. Vance at the Olympics is the canary in the coal mine, which is why he will not be at the Super Bowl tomorrow. So, okay, so the hope is that a further weakening by by his being poorly judged. The fear is that he just won't give a shit, basically. But that's where that's at. So then, so how we see ourselves through all of this. So let's see how we see ourselves. Queen of Cups. very, very sad and very kind of off balance emotionally, which I would say is that we're starting to see ourselves that this has taken its toll. This is basically what this is saying. This has really taken its toll. How the rest of the world is seeing us as far as is he ever going to get his. I think a lot of people are looking at things are going to start happening. The fact that, this is, and a lot of this is around Epstein. Like, why is he not paying for, with the very least, it looks as though the trafficking was done out of Mar-a-Lago. If you leave out the fact that he may have had raped some of these children for entertainment purposes only, but excluding that fact. So I think what this is saying, and the rest of the world is saying, look, we're addressing it. The French are addressing it. The Brits are addressing it with Andrew. A lot of stuff is coming out. And guess what? They're saying they're going to get it in the U.S. as well. So they're seeing that the Epstein stuff will be bringing some kind of justice. Now, it may not be the kind that people want necessarily. I think so many want to see him in jail. And, Stephen Miller and the rest of that. Stephen Miller may end up. I think that it'll be kind of like Nixon, like the people surrounding him are probably likely to. And, but he, like Nixon, he may get off. But as with Nixon, who's a good example, he did kind of live a solitary life, and I do believe he had cancer. And that may have been the universe's way of saying the end of your life is not going to be very pleasant. So what I want to do is a little bit of a concluding read here with this other deck. So there's no simple answers, but so I think what that Nine of Wands is telling me is that once that energy gets going, it takes on a life of its own. And if they're dealing with it harshly over there, I think it's going to start to spill in over here, because it is becoming, if any of those things are true, the latest thing, that's still maybe a little bit below the tip of the iceberg, but it's, I think a lot of ugliness is going to come out too. So let's see. Interesting. Eight of Wands, it's ready to go, but it's just slowed down with Congress and all this sort of thing. So that's very interesting that this would be, and this is frustrating. This is very frustrating. They want things to happen. It's all kind of poised to happen. So this is really related to, people getting their just desserts, and it may be Sydney Greenstreet in the rowboat from the big boat kind of a thing. So then let's see. Then the energy crossing that is Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So that's pretty much, you think you've saved up all your stuff, and the evidence has been gathered, but it's in reverse, so that's kind of slipped away. I look at that as, I think a big thing about that was that 34 conviction thing. Like boom, 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 all the evidence have got lined up. And then now it's in reverse, so nothing is happening with that. So let's see, we have Four of Pentacles. I think what this is saying is that we have clung so, we had like faith in Mueller and a couple of impeachments, although knowing that the Senate was not going to go for that. But still, it was like we were so rigid in hoping that a savior was going to come along and get him out of our lives. And what this is saying, we've really got to let go of that, and just go vote. We've really go protest, but to let go of the idea that there's going to be someone that's going to save us. Sometimes when you let that go, someone actually does come along and that happens. Okay. It's also about kind of like letting go of the past, of fretting over he got away with this, that, and the other thing, and move, pretty much moving on, and just, I guess it's being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I think what this is telling me is that if we let go of all of this past stuff that we can't change, we can move forward to make changes. And this has been the big disappointment, the big betrayer, and the big split of all of this. This is like Civil War stuff, with brother against brother. And then we have the King of Pentacles. And sometimes I think that by trying to build our own prosperity, or at least to live comfortably, maybe if we have to make some cut back and make some sacrifices, that getting our own, and it does come back to getting our own house in order, and which is what this guy does, since he's upright. Then we have moving right along. Yeah, this is like trying to get our own financial houses in order, working under the fact that the money is very unevenly distributed. And yeah, because what this is saying is that we if we can't control this, if we get our own shit together, basically, that doesn't mean that we don't give up, the fight or the resistance. It means that we need these are telling us we need to find that balance, and obsessing about whether he's going to go to jail or die or this or that is not going to it's out of our control. The only way we can control it is to get in touch with your representatives to pass laws, or to give that office less power. So then as we move along, stepping out of our own comfort zone to get things done. And then in the end of this, we have they will get caught. See, this is the thing. This is a good one to conclude on. This is an excellent one to conclude on, because let me get this up here. I always look at the one, it looks like he's getting away with murder, but what's actually going on? See, the thing is that they get smug and they get arrogant and sloppy and careless. So he thinks that there's no one around to stop him, but with this in reverse, there are people in those little tents. He thinks, oh, out of sight, out of mind. There are people in those tents that are planning for the downfall, and they're saying we've got the goods, on all of them, and they're not going to get away with it. So I think the thing is to have faith that there are enough people out there that do have control over this, that are going to say, yeah, let them have this, that, and the other thing. Let them get sloppy. Because what happens is that it's that trap that's set in this card, in the after tarot. Like, let them step into that. Let them get overconfident, and let them step into that trap. So I do believe that's going on. So those that have the power to do so will be clipping. So they will be clipping some wings. But I get the whole thing about, we just don't have control over this, and That Two of Swords is saying we've got to really take off the blindfolds and do what we can in the background, but realize that is limited. And the thing is, it boils down to is get your ass to those polls. The primaries are especially important in getting these kind of like namby-pamby Democrats out and go for the AOCs. At least I have one in my district that she's kind of coming into her own and being mentored by those people. But there are other races, so, and not to get caught up with the, who knew that John Fetterman was going to turn out to be a disappointment. But to really take a look and not go for these real establishment or these kind of people that, kiss the orange behind. And you just realize you do what you can do. And that will build up to some consequences. But which every side of the road, so to speak, they happen, it's like you've got to accept the fact that, I know it will, but I may never see it. So with that, I will end it and say bye-bye.